Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Cam Talks Games. I am Cam, and today I will be reviewing Astro Bot for the PlayStation 5. I was gifted my first ever video game, Banjo-Kazooie, for Christmas when I was 8 years old, and so began my love for 3D platforming games. My older brothers were playing Ocarina of Time and WWF No Mercy, while I became enamored with games like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Mario 64, and Donkey Kong 64. My passion for 3D platformers continued on the GameCube with Super Mario Sunshine, before I moved on to the Xbox 360 to catch the third installment in the Banjo-Kazooie series, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. The last game in the Banjo-Kazooie series marked a shift for the 3D platforming genre and received a lot of hate from fans for ditching the mechanics that made the first two Banjo games so beloved, while instead featuring a vehicle building mechanic at the center of its gameplay. Fast forward to now. It's 2024, the 3D platforming genre has mostly died outside of some indie titles, late sequels to games like Crash Bandicoot and Psychonauts, and remakes of the classic 90s mascot platformers that popularized the genre years and years ago. Then, almost out of nowhere, comes Astro Bot, the first major 3D platformer from PlayStation Studios not developed for PlayStation's virtual reality hardware, PSVR and PSVR 2, or sold as a pack-in to demonstrate hardware capabilities, like 2020's Astro's Playroom or 2013's The Playroom, the latter of which was developed to showcase the capabilities of the PlayStation camera and DualShock 4 controller. Astro Bot for the PS5 is a return to the classic 3D platforming genre in every possible way, while also being the most modern take on the genre. The first thing you'll notice about Astro Bot is just how beautiful the game is graphically and artistically. Bright, vibrant landscapes filled with puzzles, robotic enemies, and unique points of interest are at the core of this game. Each world has a unique theme, with many of those paying homage to the games that built the 3D platforming genre. Here you'll find your snow, desert, forest, lava, and spooky worlds, much like we've seen in games like Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. However, it's clear that the homage begins and ends with the themes, as Team Asobi employs their own unique spin on each world. The worlds in Astro Bot aren't just tied to those classic themes. Some worlds are based on classic PlayStation IPs like God of War, Ape Escape, and Uncharted, and give the player a unique ability that's similar to the PlayStation game that the world is built as an homage to. In the God of War world, you're given the Leviathan Axe to use against enemies and to solve puzzles in the world, just like in God of War Ragnarok, while the Uncharted level gives you a pellet gun, a cute reference to the target practice chapter in Uncharted 4, which allows you to take out enemies from a distance, clearing the path forward to continue your exploration. Each of Astro Bot's worlds are expertly designed and always makes the path forward clear to the player. This is a modern upgrade to some of the 3D platformers of the past, which were often vague in this area and relied heavily on exploration or lining up collectibles to reveal where the player should go next. Astro Bot also features tight controls, elevated by the haptics of the DualSense controller, and rivals the very best feeling games in the genre, like Super Mario Odyssey. Many of Astro's moves also feel great to use and often pay homage to the games that shaped the genre, like Super Mario Sunshine's Flood moveset, for example, though Astro's moves still feel very fresh and super refined compared to Super Mario Sunshine. The soundtrack and sound design is top-notch in Astro Bot, and the use of the speaker on the DualSense adds a lot to the audio experience. Just spinning around in the middle of a room filled with tiny diamonds, or for some reason robot skulls, is not only fun because of the physics, and boy do I love the physics in this game, but also the sounds that it creates coming from the DualSense speaker. Maybe it's my OCD, or the game is just that fun, but it became a goal for me early on in the game to try to make the biggest mess with the little pieces all over the place. Honestly, I probably lost a handful of hours just spinning around and knocking the pieces off their platforms. It's just so addicting. The last thing I'd like to highlight are the hundreds of bots to save based on classic PlayStation and some third-party IPs. While some notable franchises, like Final Fantasy and Spider-Man, are absent, Astro Bot features many characters from some of the biggest and best game franchises ever made. Ellie from The Last of Us, Joker from Persona 5, all the way to the Prince from Katamari Damacy, and Leon from Resident Evil. This game will bring a smile to anyone that's been gaming on PlayStation for the past 25 years. With the many homages to classic platformers from Nintendo's past, and the hundreds of PlayStation cameos, it's clear that Team Asobi has nothing but love and respect for the history of PlayStation and gaming as a whole. Astro Bot is a love letter to every 3D platformer that's come before it, as well as most of the classic PlayStation IPs that have built the brand into the behemoth it is today. It's rare to get a 3D platformer from a major first-party studio outside of Nintendo these days, especially one that can rival the very best of the genre like Super Mario Odyssey. This makes Astro Bot not only incredibly fun to play, but also an absolute treasure that deserves to be recognized. From its tight controls, expertly designed worlds, banging soundtrack and audio design, to the many PlayStation cameos and nods to the 3D platforming genre itself, Astro Bot succeeds in every way. This may be the last game of its kind for quite some time, with games like Mario Odyssey 2 and Yooka-Replay potentially years away, and I'm grateful that PlayStation gave Team Asobi the opportunity to escape from the binds of PlayStation VR and instead build this classic platforming adventure for PS5 hardware. This game is a must-play for anyone that enjoys the genre or has an appreciation for PlayStation. I give Astro Bot for the PS5 a 10 out of 10, and I find that it sits right next to the very best in the genre, Super Mario Odyssey. Hey guys, if you liked that video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share for more content just like it. Thanks so much.